Welcome, everyone, to the January of 2025 webinars Wednesday morning series. We've got Kristin Snowden here again, and we're grateful for her being able to be here this morning, in particular with some environmental things that are going on, fires in her area, but she's here. And what do you have for us today, Kristin?
Hello. Happy New Year, everyone. My name is Kristin Snowden. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in California, and I like to cover all topics related to navigating relationship crises. And these are crises that are brought on by uncovering infidelity, addiction, um, problematic porn use, and other forms of betrayal, emotional abuse, etc. Since it is a new year, this tends to be a time where we reflect. We kind of look back on where we were this time last year, and we tend to assess where we want to move forward. And some of you who have been in relationship crisis might feel like you are moving through the healing and recovery process just fine. Um, but many of you, and often I'd say most of you, feel like it has not been a very linear process. There's 3 steps forward, 5 steps back, and many of you feel very stuck, um, unable to really feel like you're moving towards healing, towards moving for recovery, but can't make any kind of big steps in a certain direction. So, this webinar is for you. I'm going to try to help you kind of slow down, make the steps smaller, more bite size, and see if I can offer you some extra steps, tools, ideas, things to consider to help you get back on track to feeling unstuck in this relationship crisis recovery process and moving towards what you're hoping to get, which is hopefully a place and space where you feel more connected with yourself, more stable, and have a more consistent environment. So, let me just go back a little bit and say that the trauma that you've experienced at the hands of being betrayed by a trusted loved one impacts so many aspects of your life. I have so many videos on how betrayal trauma impacts your mind, body, spirit, your relationships, how you show up at work, how you show up in your family system. So I'd encourage you to, if you haven't already watched those videos, kind of review those and understand what you're going through right now, why betrayal trauma is so devastating, and why you feel so stuck and unsure about how to move forward. I always say that betrayal trauma destroys or strongly impacts the big 4 C's, the things that you need, the 4 C's you need in life to feel safe and stable. Those 4 C's are: you've lost choice in the matter, you've lost control, you've lost context. You don't really even understand what's going on, how long it's going to take, how long you're going to be stuck in this situation. And you've lost connection to your body, to your mind, to relationships. You might feel more isolated. You might feel like, who is this person that comes out when I feel extremely emotionally dysregulated or fearful? So, the 4 C's: we've lost control, choice, context, and connection. So, all of these steps that I'm going to offer you to help you get unstuck and back into the healing process are going to be related to that. How do we return some level of choice, some level of control, some level of context, and some level of connection back into your life to get you moving forward again? Let's go over first some reasons why you might be feeling stuck. Again, I see a lot of clients, betrayed partners, addicts in recovery, and I these are the common things that I hear from people when they feel just kind of stuck. So first and foremost, your betraying or addict partner maybe hasn't come fully clean about what he or she's been doing behind your back. Maybe you've uncovered snippets of it, and you're trying to find out more, but your betraying partner, your addict partner, just kind of says, "Look, this is what I did. You caught me. I swear I'm never going to do it again. Let's just move forward from this." But there hasn't been any kind of discussion, or structure to like how you're going to make sure the person doesn't act out again. What were they doing exactly? What was the betrayal and the level of betrayal? So that's one reason why we can feel stuck, is we don't even kind of know the enemy we're battling, and we've not even been given the opportunity to acknowledge what has happened. So that's one reason why you might be getting stuck or feeling stuck. Another reason why is often when a betraying or addict partner gets caught, they will do what we call consequence avoidance, and just say, okay, I'm sorry, this is not, I didn't mean to do any of these things. So sure, I'll go to therapy. Sure, you can check my phone. Sure, I won't talk to the affair partner anymore. And I'm going to do all these things, and making a lot of promises and show willingness out the gate. But then slowly start pulling back on that, maybe starting to miss therapy appointments, promising to go to 12-step meetings or groups, but then never attending them, or kind of always having reasons or excuses for why they won't work, maybe stops allowing you to check their phone, or be losing their willingness to have you keep them accountable. So these are other reasons why. So it's kind of like they've said they're going to do recovery, but really they're not doing it without constant reminders, you feeling like you need to oversee it, pressure them, remind them, be babysitters. That can be very exhausting. Another reason why you might be feeling stuck is that your partner may not be acting out anymore. They might not be engaging in the pornography use or the affair or the substance abuse, but they still show signs of concerning emotional stuntedness, lack of empathy for what you're going through, or compassion for what they've put you through, poor decision making, lies about other things, impulse control issues, and just a general concerning level of a low tolerance to talk about hard things, to have hard conversations, to own up to things that they've done, or things that you need to feel safe. So they might not be acting out anymore, but you're still seeing that kind of stuff, and that can make you feel stuck in this healing process. Another reason that you might feel stuck, and it's related to your healing process, is that you still might not really understand where you need to go, what you need to do to heal yourself, to heal your emotional dysregulation, your traumatized body, your environment, because obviously you and your partner's lives are tightly wound in. Whatever he or she does, it impacts you. And so it's really hard to kind of separate the forest from the trees and see how you can change your life, how you can return safety, stability, and secure attachment with yourself and others, despite what your partner does. And again, I have a lot of videos on that topic, but we'll talk about that a little bit here too. Also, you can feel stuck in a cycle of kind of just hoping, feeling like you remember what life used to be like before you uncovered these horrible betrayals that were going on, and really clinging on to the past that, this person could be so great if he or she would just get recovery, do what he or she says he's going to do, stop lying. And so you're just kind of really holding on to this hope and these glimmers that things are going to change, but there's maybe not anything substantial or tangible going on that's going to ignite change. And another reason why I hear people, especially at this new year reassessment reflection, is maybe their acting out partners, are doing everything that they're supposed to be doing to some extent, but the betrayed partner just isn't getting their needs met in the relationship. They just question, is this as good as it's going to get? I'm not really sure if this relationship is salvageable. I'm not really sure if I'm ever going to feel happy and safe again with this person. And so they can kind of get stuck in that state. And lastly, another reason why you might feel stuck is just because your nervous system is so out of whack. You might not want to stay, you might not feel safe, things might be totally chaotic and not moving towards recovery, but frankly, you just don't have it in you to pack your bags up, engage an attorney and file for divorce and just, separate assets and do all these really big, overwhelming life choices. And you just don't feel like you are physically up for that yet. So I want to let you know these are all okay. All of these states are okay. You are not alone, but I'm going to give you little bite-sized options for ways that you can bring change into your life, movement into your life, despite feeling stuck. So, first step is regarding these choices are, well, first, I'm going to say every day, ask yourself, how can I return choice, control, connection, and context to my life? I think that's just a really great way in the tiniest ways. How can I return choice, context, connection, control back to my life today in small baby steps? Second is to remind yourself that this is not going to be a linear, clean, consistent healing process. This is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And sometimes it's a marathon where you're actually rolling down the hill backward. Sometimes you're going to have to jump into an ocean and swim through a tide and rip currents, and then get back out and go back into the marathon. So it's going to be chaotic and it'll feel unstable and it'll feel very scary. But it doesn't always mean that you are not moving towards change and not moving towards healing. All right, so this is the big one. These are the bite-sized options. The third step is focus on how you can bring restabilization back into your life. I just read a great quote from Michelle Mays posted something someone else said that the healing process after betrayal trauma is learning how to have secure attachment with yourself and others. And I think that's really well said, but the requirement for someone to feel securely attached is that there has to be some level of safety, consistency, and predictability. So all of these are going to be offerings and encouragement for you to return those elements back into your life within yourself, internally, and then externally in your environment. And again, I will emphasize this is tough because I'm not minimizing the fact that your partner, your primary partner, someone you share a home, finances with, you are mentally and emotionally invested in what happens with them. You might share children, plans for the future with this person. It is very, very hard when that person is not in recovery and they are still living erratically, maybe not honestly. They're not stable. You don't trust anything that he or she is doing or saying. It is an extreme challenge for you to still try to find ways to stabilize yourself despite what is happening in your partner's life. But nonetheless, that is one of the biggest calls to action that you're going to have in this recovery process. So it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of trial and error to figure out what works for you. So here are a few suggestions. First and foremost, I'm a huge fan of really learning your nervous system and figuring out a menu of up and down regulation options that you can bring into your life to upregulate when you're feeling really down, you want to isolate, you want to stay in bed, you feel super depressed, and then downregulate when you feel really agitated, rageful, anxious, scared. I have another video. It's called I don't know, how betrayal trauma impacts your brain and body. We talk a little bit about the polyvagal theory. And on my website, I offer a list of up and down regulation tools. it's from obvious things like going to therapy, going to group, talking it out, going for walks, to more complicated things like neurofeedback or engaging a meditation type routine into your life, or doing like tapping or hugging an animal that you love. I found, this is so weird, but randomly I find one of my great down regulation things that I've been doing recently, and I'm so embarrassed even to say this out loud, is I listen to audiobooks and I do puzzles. And for some reason, there's some kind of like, it closes me off from the world, but then gives me something to engage my hands and brain with. And that, I just came upon that by trying a bunch of different things. And so that is what this huge call to action is what works for one person will not work for another person. And so you really need to figure out what your nervous system is. And through trial and error, going for walks, singing songs, you need a hug. Maybe you don't want to touch anybody. Maybe you need some alone time, but not too much alone time. Maybe you do need to sleep, but maybe not sleep too much. Maybe you need to exercise, but again, do it in a healthy, safe way. These are all things that you have to try to incorporate into your life regularly and assess, how is this feeling? How is this working for me? Um, and that's okay. Sometimes it's going to work and sometimes you're going to need to adjust. Another option is to continue that journaling, continue doing therapy, continue to listen to podcasts. These things will return context and control back to your life. How? When I am traumatized and I've lost context, one of the most traumatizing things, so one of the things that leads people to wire something scary that happens in their life as trauma, the component that has to exist is this like powerlessness and this blindsidedness. Like, I didn't see this coming. I don't feel like I know how to handle this. Those things wire into your body as like, okay, I've been traumatized, and they wire deeply and they resurface in a post-traumatic stress disorder kind of way. So the more therapy you do, the more journaling you do, the more listening to podcasts, listening to experts talk about this whole thing, sex addiction, betrayal trauma, recovery process, things to look out for, things to be concerned about. This is returning that context back to your life where you're like, oh, I know what this is. You're gaslighting me. Oh, I know. I'm having a post-traumatic stress disorder responses because I saw this anniversary came up. I saw this picture on my phone. You made that face. So the more that you can return context and understanding of what's going on here and control, okay, and then in response to all this stuff, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I'm going to set this boundary. I'm going to make this phone call. I'm going to go to this group. These things all return context and control back to your life. So so figure out ways to bring control back to your emotional cycles. Develop a better understanding of what's been going on, what's happened. Why do you feel stuck? What's been happening with your partner that's making you feel stuck? What's going on in your life that makes you feel stuck? How do you want to respond to gaslighting, unhealthy relationship patterns, unhealthy communication cycles? What kind of boundaries do I need to set and hold? These are all things that will bring back context and control. Some more options. Maybe you're feeling stuck because you haven't quite done enough work in the big categories that I think we all need to do work in when we've been traumatized or are suffering from betrayal trauma, which is shame resiliency. That's why I do groups. I'm licensed in the whole Brene Brown, Daring Way, Rising Strong stuff. It's really go over what our shame voices are, the shame stories we're telling ourselves. Maybe that is an underlying issue that you haven't quite identified and worked through. Trauma healing, all that PTSD stuff that's wired into your nervous system, all that stuff I just mentioned. Maybe you need to do more work on that. EMDR, neurofeedback, other options. Or maybe I find too, a lot of people are stuck in the grief and loss, the really suffering and struggling in what could have been, what should have been, what was. And they're trying to bridge the gap between what could have been, what should have been, what was, what they want from what the reality is right now. And they're just really stuck in that in-between stage. A few more options are to try engaging a 12-step community, getting a sponsor, starting to work the steps. Sex and relationship healing or seeking integrity in my site have a ton of different 12-step communities. There is a 12-step program for everything, the way you eat, the way you deal with your emotions, the way you have relationships. So please just explore that as an option. They're free. They're online options. There's in-person options. And the steps, I wrote a book because I love the steps so much with a recovering addict about how the steps are applicable to everybody, not just addicts. And so sometimes I feel like working the steps and understanding what the themes, the classic themes are behind the steps can really help you get unstuck. So I'd encourage that. Another option is maybe sometimes you've reached your current limit to recovery work. Well, I'd still encourage you to find some healthy hobbies and groups that you can do non-recovery group, maybe a book club, maybe a workout group, maybe a tennis playing league. I don't know, pickleball, that's so big right now. Something that isn't related to you talking about, the biggest nightmare of your life, your marriage and your relationship crisis, but still really get you out there and engaging with other people, get you back to connection. Another option is to work towards finding your joy again. Again, the previous step of engaging healthy hobbies might be steps towards remembering what did before the S hit the fan, what brought you joy? What was important to you back then? Can you return glimmers of that back to your life in a regular fashion? Music, friends, travel, career goals. I don't know, but explore that. Time with the kids. I know it's hard in crisis, but I'm just going to encourage you to explore that. Another option is, what are ways to return your own version of safety and consistency back to your life? Remember, I mentioned it's so hard when your partner's not in recovery and they are not a source of consistency and predictability. How do I bring that back into my life? Well, hi, nice to meet you. I'm a type A control freak, so I'm really great at scheduling things. I got lists everywhere. Like, that is my way of returning control and choice and like consistency to my life. I feel anxiety. I'm going to sit down and write a list of the 10 most important things I want to do today. I feel like life is out of control. I'm going to try my best to create some kind of schedule. Yes, because you're in crisis, the schedule's going to blow up and things are going to become inconsistent. And that's okay. If you go into creating consistency and safety, but expect the chaos to come in and blow it up every once in a while, then it's going to be more manageable. But it doesn't mean you stop fighting to create some level of stability and consistency and predictability back to your life, back to your children's lives, whatever. Esteem building acts. Your self-worth and value has been slaughtered by this betrayal. I don't know one betrayed partner where that is not a giant casualty of this traumatic experience. So ask yourself, what am I doing that is building up my value and worth? Am I surrounding myself around people and choices and things that are esteem building? One of the big things I always bring up is it's really hard to feel good about yourself if you are not living in alignment with your values and goals and who you want to be as a person. So one of the constant things that happen, and again, this is understandable, but you're living in a chaotic, unstable environment. Your nervous system gets upregulated, and all of a sudden you find yourself screaming, saying things you would never say before, throwing things, just doing things that are out of character. And the biggest casualty of that problem is that when you want to access your value and worth, and I'm good enough because, and I swear I have value, your brain, your shame focused, egocentric brain is going to be like, I don't know, you kind of lost control when you threw that dish. So always ask yourself, are you doing your best to try to live in alignment with your values and goals? Yes, you will make mistakes. You will blow it. Your nervous system, that lizard brain of yours, is going to take over, and it's going to cause you to do things that are out of character and not who you want to be and what you want to do. But you just assume that's going to happen, hit the reset button as soon as possible, and get back into alignment. Those will all help you build those things in life that develop or return your sense of value and worth and of self-esteem. A few more things is to assess your finances. When you feel stuck, I love getting into concrete stuff. What is your plan B? Are you packing your parachute just in case this never gets better? What is your financial situation? What is your career situation? What is your legal situation? Do you need to consult, besides therapists and all these groups, do you need to consult experts in the financial world about what you need to be independent if needed? Legal steps, how to protect yourself, how to protect your family. These are all things that when you're stuck, engaging these professionals can definitely help you at least understand options moving forward. Another option is medication evaluation. You might be pro psychotropic medication, you might be anti psychotropic medication. That's up to you. But if you continuously feel stuck and you feel like your organic state, your emotional state, your physical state is something that's making you feel stuck, you might want to get assessed by a psychiatrist and see if using a medication might help you get through this crisis in a better way. Just an option. And lastly, when we're going through these little baby choices, again, your life is probably chaotic, uncertain, inconsistent. Do you need to bring in some kind of arbitrary timeline? Okay, I'm only going to sit in this situation for 6 more months. Okay, I'm going to set these goals and these boundaries that I need to, either he or she, my betraying partner, my addict partner needs to do within the next 6 or 7 months, or things that I need to do. Again, these are kind of arbitrary. You can be flexible with them. You can move through them and see how they feel. But nonetheless, sometimes I encourage that. Maybe you're saying, okay, I'm going to give 6 months and then I'm going to reassess. Or maybe I'm going to plan something exciting for myself. I'm going to plan a trip for this. Or I'm going to work on this goal or that goal. And these things can help you feel like you're moving towards something. All right, so a few more choices. Something to ask. So those are kind of external things that you could be doing. Internal is to continuously assess, where are you in this relationship? I did a video on questions to ask and things to consider when you're trying to assess, do you want to stay or go in this relationship? So when you feel stuck, this is a great opportunity for you to start paying attention to, how am I showing up every day while in this relationship? Am I cynical? Am I unable to be present? Am I having a bunch of physical consequences? Am I constantly stressed? Do I feel like I constantly have to nag or be a babysitter to my adult partner? Assess how you are showing up in your current life, in this relationship, and your relationships with others, and your external life, your job, your family. Are you isolating? Are you afraid and constantly hiding and not sharing parts of yourself with others so you feel fragmented? Do you need to do anything in your life to keep your side of the street clean? Any stuff that you need to clean up? Those are all big things that you can do when you're in a state of stuckness to see if you can kind of move through that. And also, more external work is to ask yourself, would it be productive at all to address this stuckness with my addict partner? I don't know. If he or she lacks any kind of empathy, accountability, or willingness, then addressing the fact that you're feeling stuck and you're really questioning if this is going to work, it might not go very well. It might just reinforce the blaming narrative that you just need to get over this and just, why are you still having a problem with this? We don't know. But that is still your partner. If you're still sharing a life with the person and you're feeling deeply stuck, it might be a good idea for you to address this with your partner and ask questions. Sometimes when you're feeling stuck, maybe you need to change the treatment plan. Maybe you need to be going to a couple different groups or try a different therapist or a different 12-step meeting. This is when living in consultation with other people can be very helpful for you to kind of assess, should this be done? Should it not be done? Is it healthy? Is it productive? I don't know. Talking it out is very helpful. Or sometimes I've seen clients change it up by saying, okay, well, I'd like to go into some therapy sessions with my addict partner and kind of talk to his therapist and assess where he or she is at in the recovery process. So those are a few things. Closing it out, a few bigger choices that you have if you feel stuck is there's always the option to do in-house separation. You may no longer want to engage with your partner anymore. You may be tired of nagging him or her to do his or her recovery work. You may be tired of begging him or her to understand what you're going through and empathize. The ship may have passed, but again, you're just not quite mentally, emotionally, financially ready to pack up, file for divorce. Your body and mind are just desperate though for some separation and some semblance of stability. In that case, an in-house separation is an option. As I always say, just making one tiny change in the system, you sleeping in a different room, saying, hey, I release you. I don't care if you go to treatment or go to your meetings or go to your therapy. I'm just going to be in my other room living my separate life for now. That change in the system changes the entire system. So maybe you need to just kind of do an in-house separation, catch your breath, assess your best next steps, keep space, manage expectations, and use that time to develop your community support and all those things that I just listed before. And lastly, you always have the option when you are stuck to leave. Tammy wrote that really great blog about when you're feeling stuck, and she gave resources for divorce mediation or divorce advice. My video on questions to ask, should you stay or go, support, suggestions on establishing support and educating yourself before you leave. But those are all options. A few final notes is that you can heal in or out of the relationship, and therapists and groups and group work can work with you whether you're in the relationship or out of the relationship. And so I would always encourage you to just keep up the consultation aspect of your recovery. I always feel like it is more helpful and more productive when you are in crisis and living in consultation with others who have struggled in a similar way. For instance, a 12-step meeting, or again, I have betrayed partners groups. Sex and relationship healing has betrayed partners groups. It might feel like you're stuck, but if you're showing up to group and you're talking about this, if you're showing up to these webinars and hearing this information, I promise you, these are all still movements in the right direction. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, well, so much good stuff. When you're talking about the riptide, I was thinking, if you're in a riptide, just like you're just saying, the community and having support, like you want help, you want the lifeline, you want the surfboard or whatever, you want something that will help you, when you're in those, like trying to do this stuff alone is really difficult and will erode anybody's bandwidth. It's just, we need the support. When you were talking about puzzles, I can't tell you how many puzzles I did during COVID. Like there was something about that. It worked for me, and I haven't had the puzzle table out in a while now, and that's fine. So even when you're finding something, it may work for you in the moment, and then there may be something else that you need to do. One of the things I was thinking, with all of these tools, there are moments. I recently was in a season, shall we say, and it was one of those. I went to my therapist, and I was like, I'm doing all of these things. I was using all of the tools, and she says, well, of course they're not working. You're in a storm right now. Her giving me the permission, it was the context, just like you're saying. It was the context of like, well, of course these aren't working right now. And it was also slow it down, pare it down, and pick one thing and just understand that this is temporary. I swear, her giving me permission to have it just be okay to not be okay. And I was like, oh, and so, but I needed that outside input. All of these things, I needed outside input. I was doing the best I could. So I love what you're talking about with, getting the help. Um, uh, you were talking, oh, I got two more things. Starting the stability and starting with self. I think I wanted to like double down on that, because like you're looking for a partner that's, an addict partner who is not stable in and of themselves. And so for partners to focus on, how do I become that stability for myself? How do I get the support I need to be, so that I can trust myself, is so key. And I think it's easy for partners to externalize, I'll be okay when my addict partner is okay. Well,
Right.
that's risky. But it's also learning that I have to be willing to take care of myself, and get the support that I need. I think that is so key. So we have questions, but yeah, I was like riptide. I was like, I don't need someone to come in and save me, but I also do, I want the tools to use, and I want, I maybe I need a lifeboat to come get me. Something just happened with my knee. It's okay. It's
Okay.
learning to be okay, and also going, what do I need? And oh, there was one other thing. It was like the slow everything down, like you're talking about, like if I'm, I want to throw the dishes and all that, can I take a breath and slow everything down and go, is this the action I want to do? And yeah, if you want to throw the plate, throw the plate. But having the ability to, like you said, get out of the lizard brain and go to the thinking brain and go, is this action, am I going to feel good about this, in an hour, and yeah, again, if you want to throw the plate. I did put the link to the blog, because Krista was talking about this, and I was like, yes, and she did a fantastic webinar in May of last year, and I did link it in a blog to, there was a series of 4. Kristen's was the start, and then we had one that was a partner, Debbie Allen hosted, with a partner that chose to stay, and a partner that chose to leave, and they explained all of that. And again, everybody gets to choose. And then we had one with Deborah Doak, who does mediation within the sex addiction arena, it's just good information. This is like whatever you choose to
Hmm.
do. And then finally, our COO is also a mental health professional, and he came on and shared from a legal standpoint, reminding us that a legal system does not advocate for emotions. So if you're looking for an
Right.
emotional fix, the law system is not good at that. And so just
Yeah.
having, I mean, they're
So well
free
said.
webinars.
Yeah.
Yeah, check them out, see what you think. Okay, so Kristen, the first question. I'm the betrayed partner. My SA husband is saying that he does not find a CSAT 12 steps seeking integrity group sponsor helpful to his recovery. We are separated for over a year because it was in a relapse. Now he is saying he wants the relationship to work. I don't know if after 15 years of gaslighting me, I can trust my gut, or if there is truth in his words. Can one be in recovery if they do not see a CSAT and go to meetings, etc.?
Um, I don't know. I'm sure they're out there. Obviously, if I'm a therapist and I'm running groups, I'm not going to see people in recovery that have done it all alone. Because, by the way, that's essentially saying my best thinking that told me to do all those nefarious, manipulative, secretive, gaslighting behaviors. I'm going to now use that exact same thinking to get myself in recovery. That seems a little counterintuitive. Usually, when someone really blows it or shows or demonstrates the inability to manage their feelings, choose healthy coping skills, um, manage their impulse control problems, rewire the circuitry that is deeply wired in them, and thinks they're going to be able to do it all by themselves without any kind of help or support, I'd be a little concerned about that. I mean, what if someone was like, yeah, I have stomach cancer, but I'm just going to go ahead and, fight it myself. I'm going to pull some chemicals together, and I don't know, like it just, we have so much history that when a human wants to do something that's beyond their current capacity, whether it's reaching a physical goal or reaching an emotional goal, we usually ask for help. We go to a higher level of process to get there. And so this idea that I could get recovery from all these really concerning behaviors by myself, especially when, as you all know, if you've watched my groups or Rob's groups, is that addiction is an intimacy disorder. It's a disordered relationship with myself and other people, to the point that instead of having healthy, secure attachment with myself and other people, I chose to go to these unhealthy behaviors to manage and navigate life, all while manipulating, lying, doing all these nefarious things to try to hide it from everybody so they didn't know. So you kind of, by definition, need to develop healthy, securely attached relationships with other people to unwire that. Just some thoughts.
And I'm an addict in recovery. And so I'm coming from a different lens. I don't know anybody who has magically gotten into recovery. And I'm going to, he wasn't in relapse. He wasn't doing any of the work. So he might have had a period of abstinence. But
Right.
here's what I do believe when he's saying he wants the relationship to work. I believe his lips are saying that and he believes that and all that. But I also see that his actions are completely contrary to any ability to move forward in a different and healthy way. So, is he gaslighting? I don't know if it's gaslighting, maybe, I believe he really believes that, he can do this on his own. And you know, I, I don't know anybody, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I know thousands of addicts in recovery, and I don't know any of them. In fact, here's another thing. I know people who have been in recovery for years or decades, and they quit doing the work that got them into recovery, and some of them have relapsed after 20 years. And that's not a scary thing. Like, that is not, oh my gosh, there's no hope. No, there's a lot of hope. If you do the things, take the actions that change things, life changes. I do not hear, unfortunately, and I'm so sorry, that your partner, all I hear is excuses. Like, oh, that doesn't really help me. Oh, he is not the unicorn. He is not the, we call that actually terminally unique. I am so unique and different from everybody else that, those things don't work for me. Well, what we say in 12 step, it works if you work it. We actually say this in 12-step groups a lot. And it works if you work it. We close meetings with that, so, but I don't hear somebody who's willing to do the work. So I would encourage you, lean into your healthy
Mm-hmm.
boundaries for you. Like Kristin was saying, even, at the beginning, that you get stuck in the hope that, like, gosh, I love this person and I want them to get recovery. I understand that 100%. And I also
Right.
hear that this person is going, no, none of those things are for me. I'm just going to
Yeah.
magically fix myself.
And gut check, like,
Mhm.
what have you been willing to do to maintain this relationship? How much have you had to swallow and deal with and endure to make this relationship still exist? And it sounds like you're just kind of asking him to do some things that you need from him to show that he's stable, moving in recovery, um, and he's not doing them. So don't minimize what you've been through and what you've done to this point.
Yeah, and please check out, because Kristen's video, I can't tell you, I mean, I can't tell you how often I've referred to that, but she had 10 questions to journal about, and then it isn't like just stuck in your head thinking about, should I stay or should I go? It's like, do I like this person? I mean, like, it was great. It was a great, I mean, the whole series is helpful. But that was a super helpful one. I think any relationship, you know what, you may go, yes, I'm still all in and he's all in and now he's willing to do some things. Great. And you can always stay, like everybody gets to pick. You can stay in a relationship with an active addict. You just have to work harder at taking care of yourself because you have someone who's in active addiction. And, it's a known commodity. They're going to lie to themselves and you. And how do you take care of you in that situation? And lots of people choose it. I am, again, zero judgment. It's just, I want you to take care of you. Okay, next question. I carry a lot of tension in my body, and this is going on for a long time, even though I learned to regulate my nervous system. With this betrayal, a lot of childhood trauma opened up. I need a lot of alone time, and I find the mornings very difficult. If I even sleep, I feel exhausted and sore. I need like 2 hours to stretch and clothe myself. The spouse is free in the morning, and I cannot care for him. So I asked him to live elsewhere, but I want him with me, and he wants to be with me. And now I feel bad about the issue also. I asked him back and to leave over and over again. I make him and myself crazy. Can you help with an explanation of this, please?
I'm sorry. I mean, you're not alone. This trauma wreaks havoc on your body. And again, the most unsafe, scary thing that your body receives is this person who shares space with you, intimate space with you. So it is so dysregulating. Um, I just have lots of things going through my head, and it's a group of things. So nervous system stuff, maybe there's some more work that you could do. Again, internal family systems. Oh gosh, there's a bunch of things I've heard people have done, like EFT stuff. There's other tapping type of interventions. Someone just told me about this trip training that I'm looking into. I don't know what it stands for. Sorry for being so vague, but I think you can Google trip trauma interventions, neurofeedback, EMDR, somatic experiencing, brain spotting. These are all interventions that I find to be pretty helpful for dysregulation. Another thing that you didn't mention, it sounds like you do a lot of organic things, which is great, but maybe medication might be a good intervention for you to help. The other thing I'm hearing is that the presence of your partner is still very upregulating for you or dysregulating for you. So my question is why? What's going on? Is the person still an active addict? Has there been any kind of recovery work? Has there been any kind of coupleship recovery work, a disclosure? Um, I want to know why this is still a very dysregulating environment for you to be with this person. It may be a silly question. You might be laughing and be like, well, this is why. Well, write it down because yeah, that might be all the reasons why you need him to go live somewhere else. Or again, if you can't create significant space, as in him living in a completely different space, and home and environment, can you guys create physical space somewhere? Are you able to sleep in a different room? I know a lot of people who found a lot of calming peace when they moved out of their room, or he or she moved out of the room, and they could have their own space and kind of close the door and have their morning routines and all that kind of stuff. So those are a couple ideas. It sounds like you can do some kind of solution focused stuff, asking, or do I need to re-engage a treatment plan for myself to help with my dysregulation? Add a couple things to it. And then what about recovery between you and your partner? Is it possible or not? If not, in-house separation, actual separation? Those are all questions.
Yeah, well, and like I hear the conflict of like, I want him with me, um, and I also don't want him around. That ambivalent love of like, you know, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, and that feels like that, and getting the ability to regulate so you can think about rather than going, I just want you gone. Like, is that you said it's driving you crazy and him crazy. So are there ways that you can regulate yourself before you say that? Even journal, like Kristin just talked about journaling. Journaling is a fantastic. There's actual research on why journaling is so helpful because you're getting things down. Like if you're going, I want them around because da 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 da, and I want them gone because da 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 da. It's on
Yeah.
paper, ideally take that to a professional so you can be looking at that together. But that could help
Yeah.
you figure it out.
I'm going to add something because it's coming
Oh,
up for
please.
me too.
Okay.
Has Have you done group work? That's my question. Because when there's a combination of childhood trauma and betrayal, everything in you is like, I am not going to make myself vulnerable to other humans ever
Oh,
again. And there is a cost to that. There's a huge physical PTSD cost to not doing group work as part of your treatment. So if you have not tried that yet, I'm going to really implore you again. I have some really great betrayed partners groups, sexandrelationshiphealing.com, and other therapists who specialize in this stuff. Uh, uh, that might be another option for you.
we had a betrayed partner group start yesterday, and there would still be an opportunity to join that one. Angela Spearman does a great job. There's lots. So, yeah, you can reach out, Kristen, or to me. We'll be happy to help you with resources. Okay, the next one, Kristen. Thank you, Kristen. Your content has been vital for my betrayed spouse and myself as the wayward addict spouse. We're currently in therapeutic separation with the hope of reconciliation. I'm focused and dedicated to my recovery to make meaningful changes. Could you speak on how wayward spouses can be most helpful in their healing and feeling unstuck? It could be a whole webinar topic on its own, but any high level themes or simple practical steps or resources would be so helpful.
It is a whole webinar.
Yes.
And in fact, I did one. It's called Signs That Your Partner is Changing for the Better. And then also I have a couple on what healthy relationships look like, but I do it from the context of we had this not so ideal relationship where my partner had this whole secret life going on. Then it exploded. Now, what are we working toward? What are we trying to make this look like now that this has all been exposed and we're trying to heal? So I discuss things that you, as the addict partner, the partner in recovery, should be doing, and things that the relationship can be doing as well. So for you, but the basics are just keep your side of the street clean, keep your promises, keep your commitments, understand that there is going to be steps forward, steps backward, and you just need to, one of the things that Tammy always says, and everyone else in this world is related to this field, is you've known about these secrets for so many years, and you've known, and then finally it's like, oh, okay, I came clean. This is what's been happening, and the addict acting out partner can kind of feel relief, like, oh, okay, I don't have to hide anymore. But your partner just found out. And so there's going to be a long period of time where she's going to have this push pull. And, I love you. Thanks for being in recovery. But oh my God, you're a monster. How could you have done all that stuff to me? So yeah, I would check out those two videos, Signs That Your Partner is Changing for the Good, and What Are Healthy Relationships. But just keep educating yourself on what your partner's going through. Be a good supportive listener and just keep your side of the street clean. Develop that greater ability to talk about hard things, listen to her saying hard things, make healthy coping choices in response to feeling uncomfortable, show that you're managing your impulse control, that you're using different, healthier ways to get through life where maybe you'd made poor choices before. Those are just some quick pointers. What do you think, Tammy?
I do. And you've got nothing if you don't have your recovery solid. So, like, that has got to be, because it's really easy to go, oh, I'm going to go focus on my partner. And guess what? You're not doing your recovery work and you get triggered with something and then you relapse and it starts all over again. It just ends up being a vicious cycle. So, do your recovery work. I put a link for previous recorded webinars and they include Kristen's, but Dr. Eddie Caparucci, I'm going to point out one, his the pain field one. I think he's done two on that. It's really good, and that could be useful for both of you. I've got a lot of positive feedback. People were like, "Oh, that was so helpful." So check those out. I mean, there's just lots of things, but this is a journey. And Kristen said it earlier. This is the marathon, not the sprint. Like this is, this is a lifelong process of of learning to do life differently than we ever did before. And so it's an opportunity, and there's a lot of hope and there's a lot of healing, but there's no quick magic. Oh, we're all done with this. Okay, next one. Betrayer here, over 4.5 years of sobriety, recovery, and healing. Married with 2 kids, teen and preteen, attending 12-step in-person group therapy and have a sponsor and a sponsee. Is there any resources for information on healthy sexuality? Yes, we actually have a work group that's starting soon on that. I'll put the link. I'm on a journey of reframing my compulsive, impulsive, historic behaviors, and they were always connected with pornography and masturbation. Like food, I know my body is sustained by sexuality on some level. We have a specific work group. I'm going to put the link in. So
Yeah.
that would be super helpful. It's a 6-week course. Scott Brassert teaches it. He co-authored the book Life Anonymous with Kristin. He does a lot of our work groups, but that is a very specific. Then here's another one, and it's not sexuality, but why men struggle to love. I just mentioned Dr. Eddie Caparucci. He has that different. It's love versus sex, but the healthy intimacy. So check both of those out. The link is there. So other options.
Yeah, just what came to mind is Circle Plan too for healthy
Yeah.
dating sex stuff. You mentioned you're married and you're doing 12-step meetings, and you just brought up the comparison of like food. I know that I need to incorporate food and sexuality into my life, but I might do it in a disordered way if it's not checked and there's not an accountability structure. And so I know for sure it was really important that the addicts in recovery assess what their definite relapse definition is. That's supposed to be done with your sponsor and the help of other people. Scott Brassard is perfect to use for that. But assessing, and then the slippery slope stuff. So, proceed with caution. You need to be very mindful when you're engaging in these sexual behaviors or these things leading up to sexuality, or even, gosh, non-sexual, like the halt stuff. When I'm hungry, angry, lonely, tired, I'm more prone to make poor choices in this area. So it's just a really great exercise to help you understand the unhealthy patterns that you once had and what you're trying to move toward. And it's this kind of concrete map of like, okay, proceed cautiously at these. Definitely engage your sponsor before and after these kind of behaviors to check in with the progress. It's, I think that circle plans are great tools.
Yes, and the combined, like you talked about with food, looking at everything. We have to look at it holistically. It isn't
Yeah,
like I have
food,
16
everything.
different circle plans for all my different things. So, do you have time for one more?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
what boundaries are the SAPA rageaholic allowed to have? My partner keeps saying that he needs boundaries. He only brings this up when he's annoyed, in a rage, or was caught lying about something. Discovery was 7 months ago. He sees a CSAT, is in a recovery program, and attends numerous groups. He has integrity issues, and there's emotional and verbal abuse. I stopped micromanaging his recovery. He can take as many pauses as he wants when rage brews. I might keep talking during them if he does it by stonewalling or controlling, instead of calling a pause and saying when we'll reconvene the conversation, or if he keeps talking. He is left alone with his devices 8 to 5 every business day. I'm not verbally, emotionally, or physically abusive. Sometimes I trauma respond, and that includes yelling or interrupting. Half the time he honors my boundaries, and the other half he says my boundaries are being controlling. I want him to feel empowered, but I think he's being controlling and gaslighting. This is a guy that would really, I'm serious, benefit from our expert residential treatment program. When there's this kind of stuff going on, and the lack of any kind of he has no ability to see what he's doing and how. Yeah, I mean, if he's going to that many meetings, honestly, at 7 months, it's still very, very early in the process, but you would be thinking he would be getting a clue. So I will put the link for our residential treatment program, but um, thoughts, Kristin?
Yeah, I mean, asking what boundaries can he have? I mean, I guess he can have as many boundaries as you have, but my question is, what's not working here? right? So what are the boundaries getting in the way of? What are you feeling you're not able to do or say or resolve as a consequence of these boundaries? Everybody can have their own rules of what's okay and what's not okay. But if you're still going to be doing a partnership with another person, you both need to assess, how's your boundary working for me? Do we need to negotiate a little bit more? I know one thing is if he's a rageaholic and he gets overwhelming emotions and he needs to hit timeout, it's usually I need an hour or I need to walk away for a certain period of time, but then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about this. Or if there's rage still, it's, hey, we can't talk about this now. Can you write it down? But let's talk about it in our couples therapy session where we have a mediator present. So these are all rules of engagement that can help you with the boundary setting while still negotiating, getting needs met in the relationship.
Yeah, and on that topic, Aaron Snow has talked about the relationship board meeting. Aaron Snow has also talked about having a journal. It's like if you can't talk about something, they've done with the couples journaling, because if you're able to sit down and write, there isn't the I have to face you and talk about these things and we're going to get like you have the opportunity to do that, and it's like, and then the journal gets placed on the nightstand or whatever within 24 hours, and it goes back and forth, and that can be a less difficult entry into having discussions about that separately. And I didn't put the link for this, but Gavin Snow, I did put the link for the previously recorded webinars, but Gavin Sharp, not your Kristin Snow, Gavin Sharp, did a
no, Aaron Snow, Kristin Snowden, Gavin Sharp.
Oh my God, I got Aaron. You're right. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so confused. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
But Gavin
really, I'm
Sharp
going to
did.
answer this person really fast. What's good recovery? I feel like I just answered that with the other person. I
Yes.
have videos on good signs my partner's changing for the better and what is a healthy relationship. Those
Yes.
I list in pretty great detail about what good recovery looks like. So just so you know.
And everybody needs healthy boundaries. Like everybody, we work better in relationships if we know what people need, so that's good. But if it's being weaponized, that's a problem. So good job. Thank you, Kristin Snowden. So thank you. Bye, everyone.
Happy New Year, everyone.